One. Okay, so we are recording again. My name is Luke Angstedt. I have my co-host Peter Rusevich here in Belgrade. Peter, how are you doing again?
I'm doing excellent, my friend, because there's some good news. As I previously said, probably you recorded when I said that Mrs. Stacy Schumacher from New Jersey, Newman Spring Publishing House, Red Bank, New Jersey, has made a correspondence with me regarding the publishing of my book, and their editing house. My book is called Nikola Tesla, Third Reich and the Extraterrestrials. It speaks about the occult background of the Vril Society, the making and the creating process of the craft of the Jenseitsflugmaschine, which in German means the flying machines from the other side. It's meant to reach the other side, meaning the UFOs, and the connection of Tesla with the Nazis and the former Czechoslovakian territory, and his connection with the Vril girls, namely with Maria Orsic. And that's very popular nowadays, because next time when we'll be discussing more about the Nazis and the occult background and the spirit destiny and so on, we'll be mentioning that collaboration a lot. Just tell me, do I look like Adolf Hitler to you a bit? Because
no, you don't. No.
Anna told me, not my Anna, but your Anna.
Yeah,
she told me, Peter.
I see no resemblance, Peter. Sorry. And
no resemblance?
Was that you're trying to achieve with the goatee and the haircut? Because I don't see it. I mean, no.
No, that was just like a compliment, because I'm wearing the haircut like this, and she just told me if you shave off your beard, and if you take a look on the fly mustache, in the middle of your upper lip, there will be a total resemblance with the alleged Nazi leader, because he was not. It was one of the parts of the mechanism. And the second book of mine is called The Occulture, and it's selling very well. We're making the paperback and the edition soon. And the third one is called The Mythologies of Techno World. It speaks about the occult and esoteric background of art and technology, both of them. So those are the books that
Oh, I just wanted to let our audience know that they can find all the details for your book and my books as well. But I mean, all the details. Well, before I guess we get too ahead, my name is Luke Angstedt. I also have I'm also an author. Peter and I are both authors, and our books kind of tie into our channel here, our YouTube channel. It's been a while it's been like a week or so since we've been on the channel. It's titled The Business of Esoteric Knowledge and Wisdom. And I just wanted to add to Peter's description of his books that you can find all the details for our books and their availability at Amazon.com in the description page of our YouTube channel. So there are lots of links there for you to for our audience members to click on and follow the links to Amazon and our books there on YouTube.
I was in the film festival in the meanwhile during the past 7 days or 4 days. I was attending the film festival, which is dedicated to Pier Paolo Pasolini, il regista italiano, because it's the first centennial after his death that we're kind of celebrating this year, because he was born in 22, and well, next time we should probably cover up the relationship between cinema and the occult, when he's very esoteric as an author.
Agreed.
A writer and a director and a filmmaker and a philosopher, nevertheless. And why he was murdered, nevertheless, is very good to cover up too. But I think I'm sure that you will agree with me. I think that we have to proceed with the topic of alchemy.
I absolutely do, Peter, because I kind of wanted to summarize what we were talking about before we went on, to summarize kind of like where we are at with our conversation subjects that we were talking about, and where we see our channel, where we see this ongoing conversation leading. And we both agree that we're completely on the same page with alchemy and transformation. because I mean, what we are experiencing globally is just this exponentially accelerated transformation of consciousness, our society, just life itself on this planet is just we are experiencing unprecedented transformation. And I think that's what we're talking about when we're talking about whether or not we are living in a simulation. We're talking about artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence is eventually going to remove the need for human labor, and how once we remove this necessity for human labor, it's going to remove the necessity for the R complex lizard brain, that reactive, reflexive, always looking for ways to survive, and it's always in ongoing stress and anxiety and conflict with its nature, with its neighbor. How this need for the lizard brain, once that is removed by the necessity for human labor, where that once the necessity for human labor will be removed by artificial intelligence, that alone is going to provide new, hitherto unexplored vistas for the human mind, and just for the imagination, and just new avenues for discovery are going to be provided for us just by that alone. But I think that what we've discovered with our ongoing conversation with alchemy, and how alchemy is not just, obviously it's not just this the medieval practice of turning base metals into gold, but what Nikolai Tesla was talking about was a spiritual transformation through alchemy too. And I think that, again, also sort of stuff we were talking about was how this authoritarian, fascist, totalitarian police state that it's becoming harder and harder for anyone to deny is fastly, I mean, just taking over the entire planet. These conversations are designed to reveal to people that there is a long history of hidden knowledge that is primarily designed to set the human race free, that it's going to liberate the spirit of the human race. And I think that is where this conversation is going. And I think that in particular, the conversations that we are having that still need to be had and to be continued on Nikolai Tesla and his work with discovering the free energy source, and how so much of what Nikolai Tesla was doing over 100 years ago is designed to set the human race free. And there are so many practical applications to these esoteric knowledge and wisdom stories that Peter is revealing just in fine, minute detail for our audience. The details are absolutely fascinating, but they have such a practical application to what we're experiencing right now, because it's undeniable that we are experiencing, almost unprecedented levels of psychological trauma since March of 2020, since the first initial lockdowns, swept the planet. And it's all due to the fact that we talk about the 4 ages of the four yugas, the Kali Yuga, and then how we're moving out of the Kali Yuga. And
or yugs, sometimes refer to yugs,
yeah. So in a nutshell, what we are experiencing is almost unprecedented, transformation. I mean, the transformation of consciousness, transformation of our day-to-day living, and transformation in ways that that we are just beginning to scratch the surface of. But the conversations that we are having here, and I wanted to share this with our audience, is that they are fascinating in their detail. They are the history, the history going back thousands of years, and just the history going back to the days of Tesla. The details are absolutely fascinating, but even more than that, they have practical application to what we're going through in the world right now. And I guess that's where we left off. We're talking about transformation and alchemy. And Peter, that's where we're at right now. So I'll hand the baton to you.
All right. Well, the techno world as we know it, the realm that we're living in, that is constantly growing and expanding, is definitely and deliberately the deed and the consequence of what Nikola Tesla did with it and made of it. And when Donald Trump said this is a perfect occasion for us as Americans to promote him, certainly when he said, let's make America great again, He meant exactly the same what Nikola Tesla did it, because did to America, because Tesla is the one who made America great. And he was able to produce the matter, as we've just scratched the subject over the past times. But the point is that following the track of the lineage and the evolution of the alchemists and the alchemic elements and dealings with the transfiguration and transformation of the matter and the inner alchemy, we have to just mention in this show several of the previous ones, because Tesla was probably the greatest one, because he has he has produced and introduced a totally new paradigm of the technological development, and he.
But Peter, it's always Peter. To your point, it's always great to get. It's great and important to give credit to where credit is due. I mean, it's great to mention these names from the past and the people that the people whose work Tesla built upon, to give people an appreciation of the history of this, and the people that did the hard work here. They deserve their credit.
Oh yeah, but let's just definitely. There is around 50,000. Around 55,000 of the active members, the Teslian new civilization that is just arriving. And it's a significant amount of, and we're constantly growing. We just want to say that here, that this is not about a sect or a cult, but this is instead of the upgrowing and enlarging community of the great people who are just spreading and developing the technology and utilizing the technology of Nikola Tesla, following the cosmic ethics. And I just want to say that before Tesla, who was probably the mightiest one amongst the alchemists, there was a whole thread of the alchemists that we were certainly mention some worthy of mentioning here, and those could be Jacob Boehme, also Paracelsus from the Switzerland, Ramon Llull, a Catalan person from La Palma de Mallorca, from Spain, that I would like to discuss briefly about, and also Nicolas Flamel, the French esotericist and alchemist and the occultist, and in a way a witchcraft maker. And also there are two persons that are referred to as the immortals, Il Conte Cagliostro, the Count Cagliostro, and Le Comte de Saint-Germain, that we've just scratched the topic of. And, no matter how this can sound silly to the vast majority of our audience, I want to say, as we were mentioning previously, that some of them are still alive. There were reports about Comte de Saint-Germain. There were people seeing him in Louisiana and the southern states.
And Peter, I don't dispute that. How old would that put them today? How old would they be today? People that how old would that
around 370 years.
Yeah.
Because I just
like
want to
make. Most people would laugh at that on the face of it, but no.
No problem.
No,
it is laughable.
I agree with you. No,
I'm laughing at the same statement. But let's just make it a clear point.
Well, I just want to make it clear. I'm not laughing at all, but I
No,
understand
I
you're
know.
saying. Some people would, but no, it's
Okay. Let them laugh. We will.
Let them.
We will. Sip on the Johnny Walker, the bottle, or Kentucky bourbon, my favorite one, and we will laugh with them.
Yes.
We'll be drinking and laughing together with them. But I'm not vain, really. Let's make it clear. Our organisms, our biosystems are produced, whoever or whatever produced them, to endure for more than 300 years. It's 500 years. If you, let's just make a brief remind here. If you, every organ has its own frequency that it functions on. If you maintain the same frequency of the organs, if you change the atoms of each particular histomaterial, the liver, heart, kidneys, intestinal organs, anyone, lungs, the blood, like the extremely rich do in Switzerland, you're literally going to be able to endure and to prolong the moment of death, because the death is the separation from the bodily system ain't something to come. It's a consequence of. So if we avoid stress, if we quit smoking, if we start to pay attention to the nutrition, the diet that we use. My wife is a nutritionist, so I have to, whether I want it or not. So if we seize the warfares, if we cut the crap, I mean, if we really start to utilize the real alchemic heritage and the practical, concrete methods, like I was mentioning previously, the mercury sulfate and so on. And if we leave the metropolis of 18, 20 million people, or even 3 of them, I was living 5 million, 10 million people. Okay, now,
Peter, a question before I lose it. Now, these alchemists that you mentioned, do they have the same tradition of practicing the meditation that Tesla did? I mean, the clearing, the stilling of the mind in order to tap into the free energy source. Do these alchemists that you mentioned, did they practice meditation as well?
Or like Tibetans do?
No, like the Tibetans do. Did they practice the meditation?
Yeah.
Was meditation? I guess what I'm asking, Peter, was meditation always an integral part to alchemy?
Is that a question? You're
asking?
That's
a question. Oh yeah, it's a question.
It?
Yeah, it's a question. Yeah.
Well, it can be. It's a mental alchemy.
Yeah.
It's a process of discharging and emptying the inner realm of the mind screen and putting the mindset into the proper program of the best possible optimal functioning.
Because the reason I asked, Peter, in one of our previous conversations, I remember you mentioned that Tesla, it was through the meditation that he eliminated any need for trial and error. I mean, there was no trial and error in his work, because when he meditated and stilled the mind, he was able to see as crystal clearly as anything that free energy source. And there was no laborious trial and error process there. It was just through meditation he had direct access to the free energy source. So I guess my question is, was that meditation? So that's why I'm asking, is meditation always integral to alchemy? Because I remember you mentioning.
Oh yeah, it's a reasonable question, like any of yours or mine. He was able to discharge the mental screen in order to be able to receive the eidetic images. By downloading the outcome of his wish, the receipt, according to download it from the universal informatic field, or from the ionosphere, because those two things are corresponding. Sometimes they equalize them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that the universal informatic field is the mental equivalent and the correspondence vibrating and resonating with the global unconsciousness level that has been described by Carl Jung,
Yeah.
and the old professor from the Swiss as well. So, and he has gone, the forest towards that road, and meaning the deepest research, and
Peter, it kind of points to the beginning of our show here, where you mentioned Carl Jung and the collective unconscious. I mean, all these great scientists and explorers and thinkers, they eventually find their ways into the same stream, into the same. You know what I mean? They're all ultimately connected here.
Oh, Jung, right? Or Jung was an alchemist.
I mean, yes. I mean the same.
Let's make it clear. Yeah. It was a great connoisseur of the occult, and that was one of the main reasons from his split. From Freud, the moment when they split up was not only that they were not exclusively agreeing with each other, that they were arguing about the nature of sex, and Freud's exaggerating and making a too large probably importance of it, because he was not having it too much, so that it was thus making it, he was putting it onto the platform, but instead they were splitting up because there were the sparks between their own animas and their own sexuality between two of them, the pupil and the teacher, and also they were splitting up because they were the disagreements and arguings about the nature of a cult. Hey, my wife has just arrived. Hey, how you doing? So, okay, she's just also the part of the show. But Jung was an alchemist, and we will discuss more about the Red Book later on, because it's his magnum opus, opera magna. That's his alchemic deed. That's what is done.
Okay, so trying to get back to where we're at with the original thread, we were talking about the alchemists that preceded Nikola Tesla, right? I mean, we were talking about the alchemists that preceded Nikola Tesla, and how there have been a lot of eyewitnesses reporting that they have seen them in recent times.
Okay, let's say
370 years old, some of them. So that's kind of where we're at before we got on that latest tangent.
Yeah, just as I said, those are Jacob Bohm, Paracelsus, Philippus Aureolus Theophrastus Bombastus von Hohenheim. It's been Latinized for the great Swiss alchemist and researcher of nature, who, by the way, is the inventor of the Swedish bitter, the Schwedenbitter, which is meant as a medicine against various types of diseases. It's a panacea.
Oh, okay.
It's a medicine for everything, really. I was using it personally, and I know many people who were using it. So the second one is Ramon Llull. So I would like to, and Nicholas Flamel, and also Cagliostro and Cagliostro, or in the Comte de Saint-Germain. And I would like to take a little bit to the Catalan alchemist named Ramon Llull, if you agree with me.
Sure. Oh, please do.
Yeah, he was born on the island of Mallorca in the Balear archipelago. I've been there twice, and his birthplace was the city of La Palma de Mallorca. Okay, the famous Palma in nearby Ibiza. People mostly go there, and they are not even aware that a giant was born there. So recently, we met a Spaniard, and I approached him in Spanish. So he was born in the same place, and it was born in the vicinity of the birthplace of Ramon Llull. So we were discussing about him, and we couldn't believe, I mean, that was the topic. So the most recognizable and the most famous of all Spanish alchemists was born around, 2035, let's say, because we don't know the exact year of his birth, the delivery. And his father was a servant. It's called the seneschal of Domi first of Aragon, Jaime d'Aragon, and the young Ramon has grown up on the court, and I just want to say that that's
So
an old French.
what time frame was he born? What year again did you say? When or
around it was born somewhere around 1235.
Oh,
because
12.
the exact year.
You said 2035, and I just wanted to make sure. So 1235.
1235. Sorry,
Okay.
my bad.
I just want to make sure it's there. Yeah.
The old French term is seneschal, from the Latinized seniscalcus. Seniscalcus.
Peter, was he practicing the spiritual transformation as well in 1235?
Was he practicing the alchemic?
The alchemic spiritual transformation as well? Because again, I'm just trying to keep it in a historical context for our audience to let them know that these alchemical practices that date, obviously, I mean, I'm sure they date well beyond that, but we're talking about an individual who 800 years ago was practicing something that today in our 21st century year 2022 can ultimately set the world free and set the human race free. That's what we're talking about. So I just kind of wanted to bring back the practical application of what we're talking about, where we have a historical context of a man's life from 800 years ago, but what he was doing 800 years ago has specific practical applications to our world today, and that is the liberation of the human spirit.
Well, yeah, it does. Yeah. But although in certain cases the inner habits and needs and impulses that were leading the great alchemists, the ones who become the great alchemists, the inner needs for making the craft and the alchemy, for practicing it, were utterly selfish sometimes, because they were sometimes willing just to produce gold in order to get rich. As well as I told you about Cagliostro and or Saint Germain, and sometimes they were just yearning to reach out the immortality, the physical body preservation, and to stay and remain in the physical body system as much as they can. So I'm just pointing.
Well, nobody's perfect, right? So and nobody's perfect. I kind of say it tongue in cheek, but ultimately the same physics at play with the transformation of base metals into gold. The same laws of physics are applicable to the spirit as well. To what we perceive as spirit, the soul, consciousness with an individual consciousness that you and I are, and also the consciousness with the great C. The same laws of physics are applicable, are they not?
Exactly, they definitely are. I just want to say that his father, Ramon's father, was the seneschal. That's the controller, the surveiller of the superb surveiller of the court behavior. I just want to say that the young Ramon Llull has grown up at the court, so he was oriented towards the earthly delights sometimes. So he grew up in the court, surrounded by what's called the temptations and the lasciviousness and the voluptuousness that the places such like that are full of. There was a plenty of sexual and lusty temptations and seductions, and later on has been named into a title, that his father also had. And he entered a rich marriage. So there was an arranged marriage that has made them that has secured him the financial, security, and he was provided and supplied, and he was living a bon vivant lifestyle of a Spaniard nobleman. So this is very important, all of the things that I'm saying, because one of the most beautiful women of the Aragon court was Doña Ambrosia Eleonora de Castello. All right, so she was virtuous and beautiful and reputable, because she's gained the reputation due to her beauty and virtues. So, and that time she was married, and she wasn't very much pleased when she discovered that the young Ramon Llull was becoming to grow up the sexual passion towards her. So whenever she would go, Ramon was following her like a dog. And finally, instigated by a trivial case, he has written some very, lovey-dovey kind of verses to her, which caused a totally different reaction of what he previously was expecting. So he has taken a message to see the dame, the lady in one of her chambers, to visit her. So he joyously and vividly responded to her. So she said that it's an honest work to better take a briefer look on the beauty that he wrote so attractive verses to. And when she, moved on, her skirt inside the left part of her body, she has unveiled to his eyes that a cancer, a malign type of cancer, has almost eaten total health of her body. Oh. She was decaying alive.
Oh, God.
And Ramon has never covered up from that shock, because it has shaken him to the bone marrow. It scared the shit out of him. Mm-hmm. So that has turned the wheel of his life course and life flow, the complete incarnation in totality. So he deprived himself of he renounced the court superficialities in entirety, and he has become a hermit. So sometimes after that event, while he was performing the atonement, the penance for his mundane, terrestrial, earthly sins, let's say, in the Christian vocabulary, there was a vision that appeared in front of his inner eyes, in which Christ told him that he will lead him towards a path that he should follow up. And later on, the vision reappeared. So it wasn't without hesitating anymore. Ramon has spread all of his, real estates and the total property of his to his family, and he withdrew. He did a withdrawal in the cabin on the slopes of a hill nearby, where he devoted and fully committed himself to researching the Arabic language, something that I do the last years, in order to be able to transform the the layman, right, or those without any belief. So after 6 years in the shadow, in the hidden realm, he went and accompanied by a servant who was of the Islamic religion, who, after he has found out that Ramon is ready, is preparing to strike the faith of his nation, he has stabbed a knife into the back of his master, because he was a courtsman, he was having a servant, and Ramon did not allow his potential murderer, the killer, to be executed, but he has hanged himself later on in jail, in the incarceration. And all of those things are important because we have to follow up the track of an individual while he's becoming an alchemist over his incarnation. So when Ramon recuperated from the disease, he has become a teacher of the Arabic, what we would call that the standardized Arabic, the Quranic Arabic spoken in Egypt nowadays. So I spoke with him, a little bit. So he became a teacher to those who traveled to the Holy Land, to Palestine, today's Israel. So while he was doing that, he has got into closer touch with Arnold of Villanova, Arnoldo de Villanova, who was exactly the one who taught him the secrets and the basic principles of the alchemy as a science and art and craft. So as a result of this training, Ramon has learned the secret of the transmutation and the multiplication of metals and turning the concrete metals into gold. And his wavering, life of a wanderer has proceeded and continued and brought him to Tunisia, the north of Africa, where he has commenced a conversation, meaning a treatise with the Mohammed's, descendants and the teachers, the scholars and sages, and he almost lost his life due to the fanatic attacks to their religion, because it was attacking Islam and the Muslims. So it's been ordered to him to leave the country, or he will be.
Peter, I just want to bring you. Peter, we have 1 minute on this Zoom call right now. So so until we get it rolling again, and Zoom decides to extend our one-on-one conversations indefinitely, we are going to be limited here. So I think this is a great place. I'm going to schedule one hopefully in 20 minutes. So it's almost 10:10 now. Hopefully I can schedule the next one as early as 20 minutes from now. So
no problem, but we are announcing we have to clear up with Ramon Llull, if you agree with me.
I want you to hold that thought. I want you to hold that thought before we're having the conversation, and that is where we will pick up when we get back on in hopefully 20 minutes.
Within 20 minutes. All right, I'll be there.
Yes. So hold that thought, and we will pick up the conversation.